What up, y'all? DCFAYGOGUY. Today we are going to be reviewing the November Brain mix-up CD that Madrox dropped clear back on Black Friday. Been waiting to do this review because I wanted to fully listen to it, and I didn't fully listen to it, well, until January. I pre-ordered it on Black Friday. I didn't get it till mid-January. I actually had access to hear it in early December, but opted to wait closer to time because on Cyber Monday they announced the more music you don't want to hear from someone you barely like, more or less sequel or follow-up to November Brain, and I immediately decided then and there that I was going to wait to listen to the November Brain. Not really sure why I did. Maybe the better way to do it would have been to listen to it then and have it fully ready and reviewed before the second album drop. But I just kind of made it up in my mind that I wanted to listen to the two together. That being said, I got the CD in January. I want to say it was like the second week of January. I did upload it and I did put it on my phone and I gave it like 2 spins. And honestly, the first listen to it, it was kind of meh for me. The second listen to it, it was kind of the same. It grew on me just a little bit. Also, at that same time, though, I ended up getting the album Relic from Gruesome, and I ended up gravitating towards that a little bit more. Not so much that I wasn't enjoying November Brain, it's just that that one, kind of captivated me, and two, again, I was kind of waiting for more music to drop. So finally digested it, and I'm kind of I wanted to review the two albums separately, but one thing you're going to hear me talk about in this one, maybe a little bit, but definitely more so when I do my review for More Music You Don't Want to Hear, is the fact that I feel like they're very cohesive. And I know in an interview with, I think it was the Underground podcast in Australia, I think is the name of it still, Jamie Madrox had said there that these two albums really kind of go in tandem. So jumping right into the November Brain mix-up CD is the full title. When you actually look at the CD, though, there is no title anywhere that follows that like name. The only time you ever really hear it called that is in the thank yous. I'm pretty sure that's the only other time I've seen it, other than the promotional when they were doing the pre-orders for it and things like that. So I think it's important to remember the mix-up part, just because this album, or this CD rather, very much is in the format of like a mixtape. Most of the songs on here, the average length of them is like 2 minutes. You've got some tracks in here that are barely a minute long. You only have one track that clocks in at over 4 minutes. It's really the only full song that's on this, and I'm honestly curious why it didn't end up on More Music You Don't Want to Hear versus landing here on November Brain. I feel like maybe it should have went there just to fit the mold of that album more. But I also don't fully know what the idea or goal or theme was going into these two albums. I don't know if November Brain was just something that Madrox had put together, and then as he had more beats still available to him, he recorded more. I have no idea how this went. And honestly, going into the November Brain, I wasn't even sure what to expect. I remember people saying that they like speculated that maybe this was going to be a lot of the TikTok stuff that he was putting out, where he would do the open verse challenges and drop his own verse. Honestly, I kind of wish or hope, I say hope because there's still an opportunity for him to do that. I'd like to see him put those out in an official format. Kind of what I was expecting here for November Brain, but also on the same hand, I think that was on my mind very heavily going into this. So I really kind of approached it with like this attitude of like not overexcited, which I don't know why I got into that headspace, because Madrox absolutely killed it on a lot of those open verse challenges. His Son of a Sinner from Jelly Roll one was fucking on point. So I think it would be really cool down the road for him to potentially put out a mixtape or another mix-up where he actually releases those. Granted, I'm sure he's going to have to get the rights for it, but also on the same hand, the November Brain album, it is not available on streaming. It's not available on YouTube other than what people have uploaded. From my understanding, there are samples on there that were never cleared, but they're also able to sell it. So, you know, there's potential down the road for them to do some stuff. I think they could go the writer's route where they have him, you know, put something out where it's all the stuff that he did on those open verse challenges. I don't know the legalities of how he could pull that off, but I do think it's something that would be really cool down the road to do like another mix-up. So jumping into that, like I said, this is like a mixtape style album. And one thing that I like, and I didn't put it down in any kind of notes, and I kind of feel like I should have. Throughout the mix-up CD, you hear like some tracks that end with like a little bit of a static, and then it goes into the next song. And there's a lot of the songs that they end kind of abruptly, but they also flow well into the other tracks. A big prime example of this is Mind Games. I feel like it ends off and jumps into On the Spiral in such a way that my first and second listen, I actually had trouble distinguishing if this was the start of a new song. It kind of gave me that whiplash. And I think going into the first few listens, that was one thing that I struggled with, is how short a lot of the tracks were. Going into it now, I actually kind of like the fact that some of these tracks are short. A lot of them you're getting maybe one verse or two verses from Madrox, a verse from Madrox and a verse from a guest feature, maybe one verse from Madrox and a chorus or a hook, and then it breaks off. You know, I think Mind Games was a big one that was like that. Dirt Sandwich, I believe, was another one that was like that. But the way that this CD was put together, I actually really enjoy it. This is not necessarily something that you're going to hop in your car and be like, oh, I want to listen to like these 5 songs from November Brain. This to me is an album that you're going to do just that. You're going to slap either the CD in, or on your phone, you're going to say, I'm going to listen to the November Brain, and you're going to kind of let it play, because that's just kind of the way that the album really flows. So this thing clocks in at a grand total of 36 minutes, has 17 tracks. So when you look at those 17 tracks, it's definitely a little intimidating. It can be one of those things where you look at like, this is going to be a long album. I don't have a very long drive to go, and you may decide to go listen to something else. But when you look at the actual length of it, it's 36 minutes. Again, like I said, a lot of the tracks clock in at just barely 2 minutes long. A lot of them are even just a little over a minute long, which again, some of my favorites are the shorter ones, but there's something about them that they're short and sweet enough that there's that replay value to them. So I do want to go in and I do want to talk about my top 5 tracks. So going in, my top 5 tracks are Tell Me When.
So I grabbed another and I flipped that hoe. Scribble on dominoes, telling those with no love, ho, you better vominos.
It's More Problems Than Yesterday.
Trying to feel good and I had no worries, like a day at the beach and they predicted some snow flurries. Nothing in my pocket but
G9.
Some gray in the bid, but the vision is clear. So spitting that shit that your belly can hear. So open your mind, get that shit out your ears. And they go
G1.
Hope the ill shit they say about me keeps on playing every one of my songs on repeat. Play them on repeat.
And Just a Little More.
Million questions that can benefit the game with a few of my suggestions.
I went with these ones. Again, the entire thing, I really like it. I like the way it flows. And again, going and listening to this to me is not something that you're going to just pick the 5 tracks that you like and just listen to them. But these ones were very standoutish to me. Tell Me When has this almost like mariachi band kind of sound to the instrumentation with the guitars and the trumpets. And I just like the tone that it really set, the energy that was put out there. The Dice starts the album out kind of like sad and a little bit mopey. It really fits kind of the title of the album, The November Brain. I think that was really kind of the goal. And then you get into Tell Me When. And I just really like where Madrox went with that. He's talking about like having so much creativity that he's just writing, and he's going crazy with the writing. I loved what he did with that track. The other track that I like on here, More Problems Than Yesterday. It's a different sound. It's kind of a chill vibe. And when I listened to this, I actually at one point was kind of like, this feels like a Charlie Beans beat. If you guys don't know who Charlie Beans is, he's the one that entirely produced the Dead Vulture EP that Blaze Your Dead Homie put out. He's done a lot of production for Gibby Stites. He's a producer that I like the sound of his beats. I like the vibe to them. They're really kind of chill. And there was some parts of this that made me wonder if it was Charlie Beans. Of course, there are no production credits on this. I would love to know what beats or, who did these beats. I would love to know that. But as of right now, I haven't found any way. Granted, I haven't really fully gone and looked either. But yeah, can you hear, More Problems Than Yesterday was definitely a track that stood out to me. The other one, G9, and real quick, before I even dive into that, I find it interesting that G4, G9, G6, and G1 are titled just like that. It was something going into this that I strongly disliked. It's something even now that I strongly dislike. And I don't know, I may go in and just try to find something and pinpoint something that one of them says, like that somebody says in these tracks, and just make that the title of it. For instance, G1 with James Garcia, you know, they're talking about burying their enemy 6 feet deep. You hear that fucking shovel clink noise during it. I just loved that track. Again, one of my top 5 tracks. I thought they both absolutely killed it. Love the beat. Again, love the hook of, you know, you hear the shovel, bury them 6 feet deep. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Not sure why that wasn't the title of the track they went with. I don't know. Another one, G9 featuring Boondocks. Starts off, Boondocks absolutely kills it. And seeing the homies from Deck Window, like, kind of just jaw drop. I mean, they didn't really jaw drop, but they even point out, like, damn, fucking Boondocks can spit. People in the chat were talking about how Boondocks can spit. And to me, it's awesome when I see people do that, because I'm somebody who's been a fan of Boondocks for a very long time, and he's somebody that I feel like is super underrated. So when I see people kind of like do that, turn their head, you know, the little meme with the guy and the girl, they're looking back. When I see people kind of turn their heads at Boondocks, I grin. I love it, because it's like, yo, he's been killing it. But people just, you know, he's underrated, I think, in my opinion. And he's absolutely somebody who can fucking kill it. So when I see that kind of shit happen, I absolutely love it. So, you know, G9 definitely another one of those ones that I like. And again, Boondocks killed it. Madrox fucking killed it. Another track on here that I really like a lot is Just a Little More. I think it's very soulful. I like the hook. I like the vocals that they have on here. Again, kind of just another chill vibe. And again, this whole CD, this whole album, I just feel like Madrox is in his comfort zone. He's also going a little bit out of his comfort zone and playing a little bit with different things that he wants to do. And I don't know, it feels very inspired. Like Madrox in this and in more music you don't want to hear, he feels hungry again. And I don't know that hunger ever really went away, but I know that there's really kind of this general consensus in the community of, like, they just feel like Twisted is putting out too much, and a lot of it they feel is uninspired. I don't fully feel that way. There's a lot of times that they put out stuff that I like, and there's other stuff they put out that I listen to it and then I kind of move on from it. I admittedly, this is something that I can see myself coming back to quite a bit. I would put this honestly pretty on par with Fatso, and I could see myself, granted it's still new, it's still fresh, I could see myself revisiting November Brain a lot more than I could Fatso right now. But I've also listened to Fatso a lot, so again, that could change. And who knows, maybe down the road Migs and I need to do a battle where we battle this versus Fatso. Or maybe not so much November Brain, but maybe more music you don't want to hear, since that's more of an album format up against Fatso. So maybe just a little seed to plant there for something to do down the road. But I absolutely loved this album. I thought it was great. I wished it could be available on streaming for people to hear. Again, it's not, because from what I had heard, there are uncleared samples. To my knowledge, none of these verses are TikTok stuff. I don't think that there is. If I'm incorrect on that, absolutely leave a comment down below and let me know if it is or isn't. But I absolutely love it. If you have heard the November Brain Mix Up CD, tell me down below what were your favorite tracks. If you weren't really feeling it, you can comment that down below and tell me why you didn't care for it. Just always remember to be respectful. I thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.